It's Monday, the 3rd of April, 2023. Welcome to the Fast Five by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 big stories to kick off the week. Let's jump straight into story number 1. House prices across the country, on average, rose last month for the first time since April last year, with both Sydney and Melbourne recording significant increases.
It looks like pressure other than interest rates are starting to play out in the market, with lower stock levels, tighter rental conditions and overseas immigration putting upward pressure on house prices. Sydney house prices rose 1.4% last month. That's 2 positive months in a row, though prices are still down 12% on a year earlier, according to CoreLogic. Melbourne prices rose 0.6%. In March, that's the first increase since early last year. Perth and Brisbane prices were also higher, not totally across the nation. Hobart, Canberra, Darwin and Adelaide prices all fell during March. Across capital cities, prices rose on average 0.8% in March, and in the regions, prices are up 0.2% on average.
So is there enough evidence yet to say the housing cycle has turned?
Probably not, and the full impact of the 10 rate rises in a row are still to be felt, particularly among people coming off very fixed rate loans. But there is certainly cause for some optimism. CoreLogic's Tim Lawless said the number of listings in March was down 20% on average. That's helping. At the margins, renters actually taking the plunge and buying, or immigrants being able to purchase a home also helps out. Also helping alleviate the interest rate pressure at the moment has been the fierce competition in the home mortgage market. Of course, the Reserve Bank Board meets again tomorrow. Given the recent inflation data and troubles in the banking system around the world, maybe they won't lift rates. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
We will indeed. Story number 2, Sean, of course, the last few days have seen the end of the quarter, and some of the best performing asset classes have been a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, so the local ASX is up 2%. Not a lot in that. S&P 500 in the US is up 7%, but the Nasdaq 100 rose a whopping 20.5%, biggest quarterly gain since mid-2020. Look at the detail. The tech stocks are back. Tesla's up 68%. Meta Platforms, parent of Facebook, is up 76%. Chipmaker Nvidia rose 90%. European markets are up around 8%. Bonds are up around 3%, but perhaps the real surprise packet has been cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, the market leader, is up 72% in the first 3 months of this year. Much better than shares, much better than bonds. Just seems that investors have become a lot more comfortable with risk, Michael.
Sean, story number 3, opposition leader Peter Dutton yesterday said the Liberal Party has no plans to overhaul its policy agenda or to buy into trendy issues despite its historic by-election defeat in the seat of Aston in suburban Melbourne.
Maybe, but Dutton and his shrinking team will be under enormous pressure to rethink critical issues such as climate change and the voice referendum. The opposition leader himself is now under pressure. Yesterday, Dutton took responsibility for the defeat, the first time in more than 100 years that the government has won a by-election seat held by the opposition. Dutton said some of the Liberal Party's attributes were frankly timeless and worth re-prosecuting. But he also ceded ground, on accepting the most recent United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. The other thing to note, Michael, the by-election means that the government now has 78 seats in the House of Reps. That's 78 of the 151 seats, just giving it a little bit more room for comfort.
Sean, story number 4, Porter Davis Homes, the country's 12th largest home builder, has gone into liquidation after failing to secure a buyer or capital investor.
It leaves more than 1,700 projects unfinished across Victoria and Queensland. Grant Thornton Australia were appointed liquidators of 14 companies in the Melbourne-based group on Friday. Porter Davis purchased a boutique luxury builder, Engelhart, back in 2021, but it's just been unable to weather deteriorating market conditions. It, like many others in the sector, has been hit hard by surging costs and fixed price contracts. Very hard for all those people who are now very uncertain about what's going to happen to their homes.
Yeah, it's really bad news. Sean, final story number 5. We've saved a big one for the end. It is going to be a huge week in US politics, with former President Donald Trump expected to be arraigned on Tuesday.
Yes, that's Wednesday morning Australian time. Parts of Lower Manhattan will be closed down as Trump appears. Late last week, he was indicted by a Manhattan grand jury after a probe into hush money paid to porn star Stormy Daniels. He's the first former US president to face criminal charges. Trump, who, of course, is running for the Republican nomination for next year's presidential race, has denied any wrongdoing and called the probe and the indictment a partisan attack. Trump already warned there could be violence if he was indicted, saying on his Truth Social platform on March 24 that if he's charged, there could be potential death and destruction. Ahead of the indictment, he also called for prosecutors to take our nation back. Of course, that echoes his rhetoric before the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. Let's hope we have a peaceful week in the US this week.
Yeah, well said. There we go, the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Monday, the 3rd of April, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. If 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed wherever you listen to podcasts, and that comes with a bunch of interviews and things as well. Today's interview is a great one for investors. Of course, the Amazon Echo smart speaker range comes with Alexa built in. Simply say, Alexa, play the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed podcast to catch the latest episode. You can grab yours now at amazon.com.au. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.